There's a saying that said, unless you learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And we don't seem to have learned. It wasn't us that briefed everybody for 2 years that we were waiting for the right targets, that we were sitting on our money to make sure that we got the bodies in we wanted, and then changed and moved the goalposts again. This video is being brought to you with thanks to Surfshark. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to browse websites in other countries and keep you safe and secure from hackers. Surfshark allows you to virtually travel the world with just the tap of a finger. As an example, we here in Ireland can Afflix? What is Afflix? We here in Ireland can watch other countries' Netflix libraries, unlock UK services such as BBC iPlayer, and of course that all-important Spanish DAZN account for football. Surfshark keeps you safe and secure by covering up everything that you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all this information is, in a way, blurred out. This is particularly effective when you're out and about on public Wi-Fi, maybe you're in college or at a cafe. It keeps your information safe and secure from hackers. With a Surfshark, just ask Surfshark, just here, have a Surfshark. Johnny? Mildred, Surfsharks? Surfshark allow you to use unlimited devices on just one subscription, meaning if you so wish, you can grant access to your friends and family. On top of that, Surfshark offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you don't like it, they refund you. It is that simple. Our sign-up offer gives you a whopping 83% off. That's right, I did say 83% off and 3 months additional free. Simply scan the QR code on your screen right now or use the link in the description, putting in the code Anfield Agenda at checkout. Jurgen Klopp made an analogy today about kids and asking for a Ferrari at Christmas, and that, well, you're going to be disappointed because, you know, Ferraris are expensive. I would say that the analogy probably should have been a little bit more like this. Mammy and Daddy have been alluding to the child and explaining to the child why the child can't have Christmas presents for a couple of years because Mammy and Daddy are saving for something very special, a car that you really won't want to miss out on. And then the child goes, oh, Mammy and Daddy, Christmas coming up. Can I have a Ferrari? No, why would you ever think that way? Ferraris are expensive. Of course you can't have a Ferrari, little Johnny. Stop speaking to us like idiots. Stop alienating the one group of people who actually adore you here. The one group of people who will follow you into any battle. But we need to be treated respectfully and not with these childish, stupid analogies. If Jurgen Klopp really is unhappy, if Jurgen Klopp really is seething about what's going on at the club, but doesn't want to speak out against the owners, which is understandable, publicly, all he has to say is one sentence to the Associated Press, to everybody watching that press conference, and then we know where he is. All he has to say is this: do you guys really think that I don't want to work with Jude Bellingham? Do you really think that I don't want Jude Bellingham at Liverpool? Ask yourselves that. Then we'd all know. But what he has done instead is left us wondering, is he a yes man? Is he turning into part of the problem? Does he really believe what he's saying? Is he that delusional that he thinks that we don't know that we've sacrificed an entire season because of his mistake, which we were all willing to put up with on the understanding that we got what we were promised in the summer? So whichever way the owners and Klopp, the club, want to dress this up, it is poor planning, it is poor execution, and it is embarrassing from a football club that is the 5th richest in the world. Now again, before you come and have a go at me, we need to realise this. Sky Sports put out a really good piece earlier on, and I'm going to read it out to you because it lays bare exactly how pathetic FSG are and how, as Liverpool fans, we are being taunted for having ambition by certain sections of our own fan base, and how we're being spun a lie over and over and over again. So I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs from this Sky Sports piece, and I'll let you make your mind up if you think Liverpool Football Club are doing all that they can do in the transfer market. One of Liverpool's greatest feats has been achieving recent success with a comparatively low 246 million net spend since the summer of 2016. So 7 years, 246, let's round it up to 250 million net spend. What's that equate to? About 36, 37, something like that a season. More than a third of the sum splashed by rivals spending on season 16, more than a third of the sums splashed by rivals, Chelsea and Manchester City. In fact, it's less than 10 other Premier League clubs. So Liverpool, the 5th richest club in the world, not in England, in the world, have spent less in 7 years than 10 other Premier League teams. That figure excludes Wolves, some other seasons in the Championship, but Wolves are one of the clubs that have spent more money than Liverpool. Wolves have spent more money net on transfers than Liverpool Football Club. And we're constantly being given the one excuse: wages. Wages, 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 right? That's the excuse that gets wheeled out. Liverpool have a really high wage bill. Well, here's another truth for you guys. That wage bill is about to be drastically changed in the summer. James Milner, 140 grand a week, 7 million quid a year, gone. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, about 5 or 6 million quid a year, 120 grand a week, gone. Adrian Samagel, even if it's a quid, he's been paid too much, gone. Bobby Firmino, about 180,000 quid a week before bonuses, around 8 or 9 million quid a year, gone. And that's before we look into what we should actually do. So a lot of money is being freed up from the wage bill that is being spoken about as the noose around our neck, as the weight that is dragging us down. Whose decision was it to give Jordan Henderson a 2-year contract extension? Was it the fans? No. Owners and manager. Your fault. Whose decision was it to give Mohamed Salah a contract extension on 350 grand a week? Your decision. And we agree with it. If you were ever going to break a wage structure for one person, it is Mohamed Salah. He deserves it from what he's done. But stop talking to us like we are idiots. You have promised us and the world that this was the big summer, that we were going to deliver. You told us all last year that we were wrong. You didn't need a midfielder. How could you improve on the attributes of the midfielders that you had at the football club? It wasn't possible. It absolutely was. You then realised it, shit the bed with Arthur, and instead of bringing a midfielder in January, you decided that you were more clever than everybody else and that bringing in Cody Gakpo was going to cure your midfield problems by pressing from the front. Again, you were wrong. You backed the wrong horses. You need to remove Fabinho. You need to remove Jordan Henderson, along with all the other players that I mentioned previously, if you really, really want a refresh of this midfield. Now, one more thing that's stuck in my throat a little bit here is, why all of a sudden has it dawned on them about the scale of the rebuild? Why all of a sudden the decision to walk away from Jude over 15 or 20 million, if we believe that? And at the moment, I truly don't know. But there is a lot that has been said and done that is contradictory to the actual behaviour of our owners. Now, Jurgen Klopp needs to know, or needs to decide if he's a yes man and a company man, or if he actually wants to fight for making Liverpool Football Club better and taking us along with him. Because make no bones about it, take the temperature of the fan base. Opinions on our manager right now are a little bit up in the air. Jurgen Klopp has built an amazing, amazing football club over the last 7 or 8 years. And yes, FSG have been part of that. But so is the genius of Michael Edwards. So have the people in the recruitment team, who Jurgen Klopp has apparently stopped listening to and apparently moved away from the successful, analytical, data-driven side of our recruitment to a more vibes and eyes system. Not working. So something needs to give. And I don't know about you, but I'm really pissed off with our manager right now. I'm really pissed off that once again, it's cheap shots towards, well, you don't understand. We do understand. We understand that our owners haven't got a fucking notion of being successful. They have no ambition other than the bottom line. Again, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. 7 years, 35 million quid net a season for a club the size of Liverpool Football Club, outspent by 10 other Premier League clubs. And then we were told this was the one window. We knew. We'd been cutting our cloth accordingly. We'd been preparing for the big summer. It's another lie. It's another false dawn. And it's another case of the owners pulling the wool over our eyes. And we need to speak up. We need to come together. And we need to call this out. Because no, you are not being greedy. No, you are not spoiled or petulant. You have every right to be ambitious. You have every right to remind Liverpool Football Club and those that run it of the mistakes that were made in the past when we were on top, that led us to going all the way down and took so long to rebuild back up. We need to strengthen from a position of strength. We need to go out and act like a big club. If FSG are unwilling to do it, then we need to remind them that they can be shown the exit door. And I get it. You're worried about the top Reds. You're worried about the match-going fans. And I feel for them. Because they've spent 700 and something quid, the majority of them, on season tickets. And the owners don't care. They've taken your money this season. They've told you that they couldn't strengthen because they were building to this big summer. And then they've ripped it away from you and used the excuse of no Champions League football as to why we have to revisit the rebuild. It is one lie after another. It is one false dawn after another. And it is one bit of PR spin and guff after another. And we are like a browbeaten partner. We are like fans that have been so used. I equate us almost to the Newcastle fan base. We're so used to being shit on. We're so used to being told that we don't know what we're talking about, that we're wrong, that we start to question ourselves. We start to question if there's relevancy to what we're saying. We are not idiots. We have seen this unfold. There were people who were willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. Well, once again, the chickens have come home to roost, and FSG are showing that they have no ambition and no willingness for the fight. Now, I get, you're going to say to me, Craig, the transfer window hasn't opened yet. Relax, calm down. But I said this, and I've listened to this, and I've watched this for the past 7 or 8 years. And every single time it has been a letdown. Every time we are willing to give the benefit of the doubt to a situation, another window goes by. And what ends up being us wanting to give the benefit of the doubt at the start of a window means a bit of spin through the window, a bit of we're monitoring, we're looking at this person. And ultimately it will end up in us feeling like, how do we get through another window without the success that we've been promised? And we'll accept it. Because they built a main stand. Because they're doing the Annie Road end. They're not doing that for anything other than the bottom line. They're not doing that for anything other than their own good, their own self-serving interests. Look at what they've done with the Boston Red Sox. Their hometown club. They brought it to be successful and then just let it fade away. Attendances are down. Fans are furious. Their squad is depleted. Sound familiar? You bet your ass it does. But yet there are people out there who think that they have the right to speak down to you, that they have the right to challenge you for wanting to be ambitious, for wanting Liverpool Football Club to be in a better place. There are no Liverpool fans out there who want us to go and bring in Mbappe, Haaland, Messi. We want the one thing that we were promised. We want the one thing that was on Santa's list for the past 2 or 3 years, but Santa wasn't able to deliver it until this summer. And now all of a sudden you've shit the bed. Now all of a sudden, you've realised that you've run out of excuses. Now all of a sudden, it's time to pony up the dough. And once again, the owners have shown they ain't got the stomach for it. Jurgen Klopp made an analogy today about kids and asking for a Ferrari at Christmas. And that, well, you're going to be disappointed because, Ferraris are expensive. I would say that the analogy probably should have been a little bit more like this. Mammy and Daddy have been alluding to the child and explaining to the child why the child can't have Christmas presents for a couple of years because Mammy and Daddy are saving for something very special. A car that you really won't want to miss out on. And then the child goes, oh, Mammy and Daddy, Christmas coming up. Can I have a Ferrari? No, why would you ever think that way? Ferraris are expensive. Of course you can't have a Ferrari, little Johnny. Stop speaking to us like idiots. The big gripe that I have with Jurgen Klopp at the minute is that if it is true that he wanted to move away from the statistical, data-driven model that Michael Edwards and the club had implemented that had proven to be so successful, and he wanted to take on more of the role of deciding on transfers based on the old-fashioned things of scouting and vibes, well, that's clearly shown to be a failure in the 1 year where you were in charge of making decisions on transfers because you read the room wrong. You looked in the eyes of your Jordan Hendersons, of your James Milners, of your other Liverpool players and thought that there was another season in them. There clearly wasn't. So now there needs to be an admittance that he got it wrong and that we need to go back to a model that served us so well and try and figure it out from there. Because there's too much ego involved in this for my liking. Let me just turn to a journalist and let me just read out something that Chris Williams posted earlier on his Twitter account. He said, Klopp's irritability with questions about squad depth and future aspirations is very reminiscent of his final season at Dortmund. Was unable to convey any real answers and resorted to snide comments to those asking questions their readers wanted to know. Not good to see. He goes on to say, seems to be under immense pressure, has to rebuild a squad that has been left to deteriorate by poor joint planning and now concedes defeat in what was a top target. Doesn't want to answer any questions on why and how this has happened, so he is throwing shade at those who ask. That's how the media feel about it. And you know what? They're right. Because once again, we're being sold a pup. We're sold a dream and a vision, and when it comes time to getting it, it's nowhere to be seen. FSG are charlatans. FSG are liars. FSG are a joke. And they need to fuck off. They have no ambition to back our manager and get this job done. They have no ambition to be successful again. So go. So leave. And we need to be brave as fans and call this out. But until those match-going Reds and the top Reds grow a pair and realise it was their 700 and something quid season ticket money that was just thrown away for a year that our owners are willing to write off. I bet you weren't willing to write off all the work you worked to make sure that you could pay that season ticket, to the games you travelled to the hopes and aspirations you had. Because I know I didn't, and I know other Liverpool fans didn't. And I understand people wanting to be fair. I understand people wanting to give the benefit of the doubt to owners who have brought success. There's a thought process for me that says they got lucky. They got lucky once. They got lucky with the signings that they made. They got lucky that the manager that they brought in was able to bring this group together. And now, when it actually comes time to build a squad without that Coutinho money, they're showing again that they will revert to type and hide behind excuses about wages and in this case a lack of Champions League football. It's their fault we have a lack of Champions League football. Their penny pinching, their willingness to wait and wait and wait has caused us to miss Klopp's first and second targets, cost us to lose a season. For what? What's the upside for the club? What's the upside for us fans? There is none. But they're seeing the value of their asset continue to increase, so it doesn't matter to them. Do you think Klopp's job is secretly at stake? I'd have to say no. The whole fan base is behind the manager. Now, there are starting to be more cracks in that relationship, but the whole fan base as a whole, I think, are behind the manager. So he knows that he has their support, but he's unwilling to speak up against the owners. He is becoming an apologist for their failures. He is tainting his own legacy out of blind loyalty. The message last summer was we won't compromise on our targets, so no midfielders bought. Right? Are you with me on that one? I think we all agree that that was the message. Now the message is we have to be realistic about who we can sign. Basically, they chucked the season away and they didn't have a grasp of reality last summer. Again, these are Liverpool fans posting these comments. The fact you're saying sell Hendo is stupid. Is it? So, if you want to refresh and you want to rebuild your midfield, and we're aware that the midfield this season hasn't been good enough, and that Henderson at 33 years of age has been part of that, the idea of really clearing the deck of high wages and people who haven't performed is stupid. How is it stupid? If we're tight for money, if we need to do everything that we can do financially to start a rebuild, how is moving on a high earner who hasn't been performing stupid? It's not. You're just being too sentimental in your assessment. At the end of the day, he's 33. He has shown this season that he's fallen off a cliff. He's not going to get any better as he gets older. Remove sentiment from it, and I think you will probably see that I'm right. Do you think I want to be sitting here saying sell Jordan Henderson? I have defended that man and his leadership of our football club non-stop for years. In the face of people who've said that he's not good enough. In the face of people who've said that he's the worst captain to ever lift the Premier League title. I've always had his back. But again, if we really do need to save every penny for a midfield rebuild, then tell me why I'm wrong. The only ones that should be kept are Thiago, because he's got 1 year to go. Curtis Jones, because he's homegrown and maybe there's a bit more to come from him, although I would be up for selling him. Harvey Elliott, Fabio Carvalho, and Stefan Bajcetic. Everybody else, best days are behind him. And tell me I'm wrong. Craig, I feel very negative for our future. Can see us going back 7th or 8th. And see, it's that fear that is causing the emotion in us, mate. Because I don't know how old you are, Luca, but I'm definitely old enough to remember the last fall from grace. And there's a saying that said, unless you learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And we don't seem to have learned. It wasn't us that briefed everybody for 2 years that we were waiting for the right targets. That we were sitting on our money to make sure that we got the bodies in we wanted. And then changed and moved the goalposts again. Do you think FSG be more reluctant to sell if the fans start to really push back? Well, look, there's not much we know about what makes John W. Henry tick, Ronan. But I think one thing we can probably all agree with, my friend, is that they don't like negative PR. I mean, that's probably the one thing that we can look at over their time at Liverpool and say that when the negative publicity has come, directions have been changed at times. The Super League being one thing, the furloughing of staff, the ticket prices. You know, they have backed down when there has been a backlash. But I think the problem is the people who are match-going Reds are trying to be good people. They're trying to give the benefit of the doubt to the owners because the owners have delivered the Holy Grail. And I do get where they're coming from. I really do. Like, these aren't delusional people. But I think that trust is misplaced. And I think that whilst they are no way Hicks and Gillette level owners, they are charlatans. They really don't care. And they aren't learning from their mistakes. That's my take on it. And I wish we could come together as a fan base rather than once again having to turn on each other. Lack of access to tickets, us fans argue over it. Whose fault is it? Owners. Everything that comes up, lack of transfers, what do? We argue with each other. What's annoying me is this insistence that all of a sudden there's an understanding that we need more than one player. We've always needed more than one player. That's been abundantly clear. We could have got one of the players in January. We didn't. There were many available. Last summer, many available. Chose not to. We're told we don't compromise on targets. We have our targets. We're being ruthless. We're going for those targets. We're now scattering around, scouring Europe, trying to find bargains again to rebuild. So what gets me the most is that how often do I come on here and say to you guys, I'm sick of football fans being treated like idiots? That's what annoys me. Is that we're being sold a pup once again. That the realization that the rebuild was bigger than was needed. Well, if the rebuild's bigger than you thought, then you've got to start clearing the decks and the ranks of the people that aren't good enough. Not briefing that you're considering giving James Milner a contract. Not extending Henderson, who most people thought that he was probably on the decline anyway. But that's okay. We're all fine with giving Hendo a new deal if, you know, we're not being told in the next breath the wage bill is too high and we haven't got money. And the rebuild is huge. If the rebuild is huge, then start removing the players that are causing the problems. So unless we get common sense thinking like that, I fail to see how we're supposed to believe it.